How's it going, guys? Well, welcome to the channel. Now today is the day I've been dreading. I've got to change the core in the turbos. You saw from my video last week, I said about the turbos failed. It's spewing out all everywhere. As the week's gone on, obviously it's my daily. In the video clip, it wasn't too bad. However, it's really bad now. I've used over half a litre of oil in the space of 5 days, so it's really chucking it out. Especially when I come to like coming down the gears or sat at traffic, the smoke. Oh my god, it's so embarrassing. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm having to turn the car off on that. So I've never done a turbo before. Well, I've removed turbos and stuff like that. I've never changed the core, but you know, how hard can it be? I've seen a few videos online from Aaron Unknown, and there was another video of how to remove a turbo from a guy in Australia, I think. I'll link them in the description as well if you guys want a more in-depth look. So I don't know if I'm going to be as descriptive as them, but I'll bring you guys along for the journey. And I'm just hoping it goes all right. I hope everything comes undone okay. Nothing snaps. I've got new gasket set from Nevlock, like new studs and nuts, all from Nevlock. Cost me about 60 quid. And obviously the turbo core as well. So fingers crossed for me, guys. So make a start now. I'm going to get the car in here, get the bumper off, just so I've got a bit more access. Some people take the rad pack off. I'm going to try and do it without taking the rad pack off. But if I have to take it off, I obviously will. I've got coolant and stuff like that to replace stuff. So let's crack on. Right then, I've got the car in the air. Looking closely on inspection, I might not have to take the bumper off. However, I'm going to take this solid intercooler pipe work from underneath, as it's blocking the way for the oil feed and return. So I'm going to take the intercooler pipe work underneath, take that off. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to move this, take this pipe off, obviously unplug that, take the heat shield off, and give all the studs a squirt, and give the V-band a squirt as well, so that's ready. And then I'll start on, basically I'll take this off first, and then maybe move to here, and undo this one off here. I've got a hose to put, because there's like a valve thing, not a valve, like a pipe. You put something on a pipe on this side of the radiator, and you undo this, like, I don't know, it's like a nut thing, and the coolant should come out, in theory anyway. But I'm not looking forward to this, guys. But it's not going to get done with some more standing in it, is it? So I'm going to make a start, move a few things, and I'll get back to you. Right, I took the intake pipe off to move that filter out of the way for now. Started undoing the heat shield and this coolant line here. I've loosened off this hose that goes onto the turbo itself, but obviously water started pouring out as soon as I started taking it off. So obviously I've just put it back on now until I can drain the coolant. So it's going to be a case of obviously removing this coolant line so I can get the heat shield out, so I can give it all a squirt, obviously get to the V-band, and then what I'll probably do is I'm going to try and get a hose and try and get to the drain for the rad, so I can drain all the coolant off. So I don't want to dump it on all of the floor, otherwise I want to line it. I don't really fancy doing that. Yeah, so it's not going too bad at the moment, to be honest with you. It's not awful. Everything sort of like videos I looked at was on a GSI, and obviously he took it all off on here and everything else. So on this one there's a bit more splits in the pipe, so you can remove it off the car. And obviously this, oh crap, what was that? I don't know why it started just pissing out of coolant. Brilliant. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a pipe to put on the rad, so I can drain the coolant off, so I can carry on removing all the coolant lines, and obviously then get to everything else. So that's the plan. Right, as you can see, guys, I've got a bit of hose coming out into this bowl here, but it's obviously dripping out of the bit you undo as well. So I'm just basically doing both. So it's going into the tub. So basically drain both of these out now. Wait for that to do. I can carry on removing all the coolant lines. And behind here, I'll have to show you in a bit, but I would need to take all this intercooler pipe off to get to the oil return and the feed. I'm debating whether to actually take the bumper off now, to be honest with you, just to make my life a little bit easier getting to some of the clamps and manoeuvring everything around. So I might just do that as well. But I'm going to undo some of the top stuff first, give it all a squirt, pull up the studs and that, and then it should make my life a bit easier later on. So now that's sort of stopped coming out, I'll crack on with this. Sit rep. Luckily I've cracked all the nuts on the manifold. Oh, bear with. I found that one down there. You've got to be careful because the socket can get stuck against the dipstick tube. So basically when I started undoing it, I had to undo it all the way, and it pulled the stud out with it. So luckily, I don't even know where to pull it now. It's somewhere there. So yeah, so it's pulled the stud out with it. but it doesn't matter because I've got new studs and nuts anyway. So I've cracked them all. These ones are a bit of a pain as well because obviously because this pipe's in the way. So if you've got a really small extension, it really helps. I don't have one, so I'm going to have to do it a little bit at a time. This top one I had to crack with a spanner. So I'm going to try and dig through my toolbox, see if I've got like a really small extension. So now, what I'm going to do now, because so then the manifold's sort of like semi-loose, it's like all the bolts are cracked. I don't know if you guys can see it. Look where they've done the V-band. I don't know if you guys can really see it. It's right at the back of the turbo. So it's... I just don't understand why you put it there. It just can't go. I know you need to clear the... obviously the actuator arm and that, but flipping neck. What an awkward place for the pipe to be. So I'm going to try and crack that off now. And then start cracking all the oil lines. Right then, I don't know if you guys can really see it. There's like a nut there next to that plug. I don't know if you can see it, like a nut there. That's the oil feed for the turbo, and then obviously the return is there, that big bolt there. So I need to crack that off, and I need to crack the oil field off as well. So I'll put a pan block under in case it does piss out. Hopefully it might be a little bit, but I can't see it being very much. So hopefully after that I should just be able to start taking the manifold off then, in theory anyway. But we shall see. Oh god, guys, getting into intercooler pipe work was off an absolute nightmare. It was on there, proper on there, and I managed to get the down pipe off as well. So when I refit it, I rotate it the right way. But yeah, I'm going to crack these off now and then see how that goes. Right then, as you can see, I've cracked off the oil return. So there's like a little bolt holding it on, like a bracket onto the car itself. If you can really see that, bear with, there. So I've cracked that off now. It's just a little 17, crack 17 off, and you just need a Torx bit for that. So now all I've got left is the oil return, which I'll crack that off now. And then hopefully the turbo's ready to come off. So it's not made too much mess really, not much oil really came out, so it's not too much drama. So I'm going to crack this off now and I'll start removing the actual turbo from the car. Mission this is, guys, I'm stopping for a brew. The oil returns off, so literally I've got to take the exhaust manifold bolts off now and the turbo should come out. Luckily a lot of the studs are coming out with the manifold bolts, so that's handy because I bought new studs and nuts for the manifold, so I was kind of worrying about that, but a lot of them seem to be coming out with the nuts, so that's really handy. So the last thing I want to do is try and take the studs out and obviously snap a stud in the head or something like that. I was already thought in my head that if any of them was tough to come out, they were staying in. I'll just replace the nuts, but thankfully it's all going well so far. I'm not looking forward to putting it all back together though. hope it goes back together as easy as it went to come apart. I noticed there was a couple of the nuts underneath the turbo, underneath the manifold, they were loose as well. Brilliant. Bloody car. Right, I'm going to crack on, finish my brew, and I'll carry on taking this turbo off. Right then, we are finally off. As you can see, it's absolutely covered in oil, the core is. This is not really, I don't really know, what do you guys think? It's not really wet. They're playing it. The turbo's okay, but it's just, you can see it's absolutely soaked with oil. You can't really see, I suppose, but I've checked, you can see all the oil dripping down on there, and I've looked inside there, checked the valves. You can't really get it to show, but it's all dry in there, so valve stem seals are fine. It's a bolt that fell out earlier. So you can see all but 3 of the studs came out. So this gasket. Gasket doesn't look the best. But yeah, I'm happy with that. It's just been an absolute, I'll tell you what was the worst. This hose here, absolute nightmare, because see this clip here? It was like underneath, so it was an absolute pain to try and turn it enough to get a grip on it to pull it out, but god, what a nightmare. But it's off now, it's done. So to give you a case of putting all this in a vise and then taking it apart and stripping it for the new core, which I'll show you in a minute. See, I've got in the vise now, so I've took the actuator off already. So it's gonna be a case of taking this off, get this bracket off, take the oil return off, and basically be a case of spinning it around, and then undoing it, basically everything I can get to the actual core itself. So, it's a long old job this, but hopefully it's worth it to stop all the oil leaking everywhere, because that's what's driving me crazy the most. Right then, I'm going to crack on with this, guys, and I'll get back to you. Right then, I've stripped all the ancillaries off the core. The core's pretty much, everything's been unbolted off it. Now, you can either mark the core on your, because you're going to have to make sure the rotation's right. So I'm waiting whether to do I mark the core, so try and sort of average where the original one's going to sit in comparison to this, or do I do it on the car, whether leave it all loose, pull it on the car, do a few up, and then obviously do it, and I'll bring it back off the car and then pinch everything up. I think I'm going to do that because trying to mark it is just going to be a bit of an unknown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously take this off and then put the new core in, just leave it sort of loose so there's a bit of play in it, put it back on the car, and then bolt up the oil return to the car so it sort of make sure that sits in the position it's supposed to sit. And again, for this, I'll turn this where the intake pop's going to be, and then obviously then I'll just do a couple of nuts up, the ones I can really get to as best I can, and then obviously bring it back in here and pinch it all up properly. So that is the plan anyway, so let's hope that goes okay. Oh my god, guys, what am I doing to myself? But yeah, crack on. Right then, half of it's off. Not really much play in it really, but it's just leaking out of it though, so I'm definitely saying the oil seals are gone, just simply the fact of how much oil's all over it, so I'd definitely say it's this side. Right then, the turbo's off. I'm just putting it next to the new one. It's a Billet one, so it's got a lot more stronger, a lot more tougher than this. It's got stronger internals. I will leave a link in the description if you want to buy this turbo, but this is goose. You can see all the oil dripping out of it. Yeah, so that's definitely my cause, I think. So it's a case of putting it all back together now, and I need to put, there's a seal that needs to go around here that you get with a kit, so I'm going to put that on first before I even do anything, so I'll make sure that's done, because otherwise you'll just leak boost straight through the turbo, and then it's going to be a case of taking it all off again, which I don't really fancy doing. So yeah, crack on. Right then, we're all assembled, sort of. Well, it's back in the vault. It's been an absolute nightmare to get this assembled, but just make sure when you if you put a core in, just spin it to make sure there's no noises or anything. So I've had a lot with that, because I've had a lot of issues, but it's back together now at least. So hopefully it doesn't blow up or anything. Hopefully I've done it all right. But yeah, so try and get it back on the car now, so wish me luck. Right then, everything's dying. My phone's dying, my camera's died. I've put a few of the studs in, and I've just got to put the turbo. I don't think I'm going to finish it tonight because I've had enough. It's just clocking that turbo right was just driving me mad, so that's going to be it for this minute. I'm going to pull it on, put a few nuts on, get it in position. I think I'm going to pack up there and continue tomorrow. Well then, I'm thinking I'll call it a day now. I'm absolutely knackered. This took a lot longer than I wanted it to take. It shouldn't have took this long, but issues with the turbo, trying to clock it properly, it was just difficult. So all I've got left to do is put the manifold bolts on, oil return and oil feed is plumbed in, so it's literally just the coolant stuff on top, so coolant return and the coolant feed and everything else I need to do. But yeah, so oil feed, oil return's done. But yeah, so I'm gonna pack away now. It's not dark, but it's like 5:30 now. I've been on it since 10. I know, guys. I mean, don't mock me. It shouldn't have took this long. I know you were gonna say it should have took, you should have done it quicker, but I want to take my time with it. It's the first time doing a core. I didn't want to just rush it and mess something up. There was on the 3 bolts that go on the hot side, there was 1 bolt missing, so trying to get it to obviously when you do the bolts up, it basically presses the core into the exhaust housing, and it was just kept going on the piss, so I had to keep getting it out and then trying to get it. So it's all right now. It's not catching or anything. I've span it, and it's fine. So I'll call it a day now, and I'll continue tomorrow. Right then, day 2, fresh face. I had some sleep. So now it's going to be a case. I'm going to put the obviously take this nut off here, put this brace on, then obviously put a few nuts on. I need to get this annoying pipe back on, as if it's as much of a nightmare to put on as it was to get off, but it seems to have slipped on all right. Put them on, try and plumb everything sort of back in, all the coolant lines and stuff like that. I already know this is going to be an absolute nightmare to line up, because they always are. So that's going to take me ages, but great. But I feel a bit more awake now, so let's crack on with it and hopefully get it started and no leaks, I hope. Also, when I bought the core, it came with a syringe with some oil in it. So I've already syringed the turbo, but I'm with some oil. But I'm gonna obviously unplug the core pack and then crank it over a few times anyway, just to make sure the turbo is completely primed and pray that there's no leaks. So let's make a start. Right then, I've put that stupid little pipe back on. It was a nightmare, just like I thought it'd be. I've just done these up sort of hand tight just to get them closer to the block. Out of them all, I'd say probably the ones, these two that were under here, this one, that one there underneath, and that one there underneath, probably the hardest ones to get to. So I've got to do these up now. From what lucky go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looking at the book, but I'll double check it before I start. And they've got to be done up to 8 Newton meters, which I've got a torque wrench for that. So I'm going to do them up now, and then it'd be a case of reattaching all the coolant lines and stuff like that. And then be hopefully a case of priming it, put some coolant in it, prime it over again. Obviously once I've done this, it's going to probably take me about 5,000 years to do. If you guys have done these on yours, you know how much of an absolute pig they are. But yeah, so crack on now, get all these torqued up, and then we'll go from there. Right then, I'm sort of getting somewhere now. I've torqued all these up. The order sequence was, according to the guide, was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you go under 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's all. They're all torqued up now to 8 Newton meters. I've got the V-band on the down pipe best I can. Chances are it's going to blow, so I can almost guarantee I'm going to take it back off again. I've just given it a little bit of a crank over just to double check any leaks for the oil, because I'm not going to start it or anything like that. I've just cranked it over. There was a slight weep from the return pipe where it goes into the back of the engine. On close inspection, I obviously didn't tighten it up last night. Must have been more tight than I thought, so it was just basically hand tied in. So I just tightened that up. The feed was at a slight weep. I just torqued that up as well now. Now it's on the car, it's a bit easier to do. And other than that, it all seems pretty dry under there now. So the next one is going to be coolant, see if I can get any coolant leaks, which will show its face as soon as I fill it up. And then once I've done that, obviously I've got to put all the intercooler pipes back on and everything else. So getting there though, I'm getting there. Just hope the first starts okay. I'm just worried about that turbo, like, you know what I mean, that shit's clock, making sure it's clocked. I mean, like I said, you see me, I spun it, it was fine, but it's still worrying. So, but yeah, let's crack on. Well then, we're all hooked up. As you can see, my battery's gone completely flat on my car. I must have left a light on or something last night because it just died. So I'm just putting some charge in it now. Everything's all plumbed up. I've got some coolant in there. Put all the intercooler pipe back on. The intake's on for the MAF. I've just turned it over again just to double check there was no more leaks. So hopefully now I can put this on, and then hopefully it'll start without too much issues. I'm pretty convinced that's going to blow. So I've never once put that one the first time. So I'm going to try and start it now. Let's hope. Well then, James has come around and gave me a hand, see you mate, to put the down pipe. You need to, you want it really, to get the clamp up. So I'm going to start it again now, and fingers crossed it will run. Well, it'll run, but like it won't, make sure it doesn't blow again. Way, success, it's not blowing. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Well then, we're all running, just double check for leaks, no leaks anywhere thankfully. Just waiting for it to bleed off basically. We've burped it a little bit, so that's why the cat's back on. The cabin's warm inside, so there's air getting to it. There's no worrying noises or anything like that. It sounds like the turbo's spinning freely. And the biggest thing for me is no smoke on idle. Obviously there's a bit of white smoke, it's just condensation because it's a bit cold, but other than that, what a mission that was. Absolute mission. But I'm glad I did it. I imagine I saved myself a bit of money doing it myself and paying the garage to do it. Like I said, guys, you guys were like, oh, you probably would have been like, I want to buy a new turbo. Like, I haven't, as you guys know, you probably see, I spent a lot of money on the car recently, getting all intercooler, tight hat, obviously the springs, getting it mapped, actuator and all that, and it costs a lot of money. So I didn't have £800 to throw at a hybrid turbo, well, a complete unit, and I didn't want to risk buying a second-hand turbo because I could be down in this problem, you know, weeks, months down the line. So getting the core was the only best option for me. It's brand new. It's a basically a stage one, so it's tougher internals and stuff like that. It's a billet turbo, so hopefully it should hold up for a bit, but we'll see. But yeah, so that's it for this one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry it was a bit of a long-winded video, but it took me 2 days. So as always, make sure you drop a like and a comment. Always appreciate it. I always respond to all the comments you guys give me, and I'll see you on the next one.